Hey everyone, I'm excited to talk about this book called Mind Magic, which is written by James Doughty, who's a neurosurgeon. Actually, he just passed away a couple months ago, unfortunately, at the age of 69. But very interesting book here. A lot of scientific and medical explanations for kind of his thesis around manifestation. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but feel free to check out the book and get a lot more detail as it's provided throughout the book. And I'm just going to cover kind of the biggest takeaway from this particular book, which is the neuroscience of manifestation. Historically, I certainly thought manifestation was more of a woo-woo concept where you kind of just put it out there in the universe and see what unfolds. And so this is really much more about the neuroscience and how your brain can actually be an ally to you to help you achieve the goals that you have in your life and how you can work with your subconscious in conjunction with your conscious to manifest the things that are really important to you and what you want to achieve. It's not easy, it's a process, but I'll go into that in a little bit, but it is something that seems to be scientifically proven. He defines manifestation as defining an intention, so it gets embedded in our subconscious. So it's there, and our subconscious is consciously looking. Our subconscious is consciously looking for ways to manifest that particular goal, even when our conscious mind isn't thinking about that particular goal. What's fascinating is the subconscious mind processes 11 million bits of data per second. That's versus 50 bits per second for the conscious mind, which is 220,000 times more processing power than our conscious mind. And so really it's about harnessing the power of your subconscious mind to help you live a better life and achieve the things you want to achieve. Essentially, the author posits that if you can get your subconscious mind to believe that what you really want is your intention and it really understands that, then it will continue to look for it like a bloodhound looking for a scent, and it will continue to look until it finds ways to manifest what you're looking for in your life. In terms of how that actually works is the brain is the reason why it's important to get the information into your subconscious with repeated efforts is that the brain uses a lot of energy. It's only 2% of our body weight, but it uses 20% of oxygen more than any other organ. In comparison, the heart uses 10%, for example. So your subconscious mind will reject things it views as unimportant. So if you just randomly say, hey, I want to, get promoted at my job, but you don't really think much more about it, when opportunities come for you to be promoted or to do better at your work, your brain is probably not going to sort of lock onto that and think it's that important because it hasn't been trained as such. And so it's imperative that that subconscious is aware of what you really want to achieve, and that's by creating cognitive ease. So that can be done with repeated visualization techniques, so that your brain can become more familiar with what is really important to it. So it can help you find those ways to be more successful and achieve your goals. One of the examples the author gives is a woman who really wanted to be promoted in her job. So she wrote herself a congratulatory letter, and she kept that letter in her purse. And so every time she was at waiting for a bus or in a end of a meeting, or when she had time at home, she'd read that letter to herself, which was congratulations for being promoted to this partner, whatever it was. You've done an amazing job. And what happened was she actually started behaving differently in those meetings at work. She started behaving more kind of like the person that she wanted to become in terms of the promoted individual, and had more confidence. And she ended up being promoted, much earlier than was typical for her track. And so it really is not just about simply thinking about what you want and it's going to magically appear. There is a lot of concerted effort that's required to make sure that this intention is really something that you are convincing your brain and your subconscious that you want. So we'll continue to find ways to make that happen. The author also talks about people that are, very fearful or afraid of threats. Your subconscious believes there's threats around every corner, and so it's going to continue to look for things that are threatening to you in your outside environment. And conversely, you could be a positive person where you have the positive inclination, positively inclined in life, and you're going to find ways to connect more with people and be more joyful and be more happy. So I think it's important to recognize that this doesn't happen just by magic. It happens by the intention and real intention by continually thinking about this, whether it's a visualization technique or some other way. One of my favorite examples is Jim Carrey, and this is all you can Google. I think it's um, interview he did with Barbara Walters, and he's talked about this a couple times. Before he was a big time actor, he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and he kept that check in his pocket. And he would drive up to Mulholland Drive and look out at all the beautiful lights in the city of LA, and tell himself that he was a big time actor, that all the directors wanted to work with him, and he was somebody special. And he'd do that every single day. And he, at the end, when he was driving down, he'd say that he started to believe it. And he really started to believe that he was a great actor and people wanted to work with him. And several years later, the Mask opportunity came. I don't know if it's the first one or the sequel, but he got a check for $10 million for doing The Mask. And it's just, I think, just an example of what people can do to really manifest what's important to them. And if you're interested in this, I would highly recommend check out the book, because there's a lot of scientific support for the stuff I just talked about. So hopefully this works for you and what you're trying to achieve in your life. Good luck.